In this video, we hope to teach you how archaeology is conducted by taking you through a pedestrian survey. When we're ready to go, a large van is rented so we can fit all of us and our equipment. Around 8 people usually participate in a survey, so come along with us. A pedestrian survey involves walking through a cultivated field looking for artifacts on the surface. We walk in 10-meter pacing. All prehistoric and historic artifacts are collected when feasible. When a site is encountered, pacing is reduced to 5 meters around that particular site. When we go out on survey, the weather is a big factor. Sometimes it's really pretty out, sometimes not so much. In the summer we work in corn, and at any time it can be really dirty. But most of the time, we have fun.
Who was the roundest knight at King Arthur's table?
Who?
Circumference.
When we arrive at our destination, there are a few things we need for the day. We need a good pair of boots, one of these lovely orange vests, and a field bag that has everything we need for the survey. It's also a good idea to bring sunscreen. 10-meter pacing is the amount of steps a person takes to equate to 10 meters. It allows us to systematically sample the most amount of ground the quickest, while still being able to efficiently find artifacts and record sites. Then we walk, and walk, and walk some more. While we walk, we watch the ground carefully.
I was walking through the field, just doing a general survey of the area around me to see if there was any flake, debitage, or anything culturally significant.
Chris will take you through the process when an artifact is found.
I'm writing on the bag that this is Blackford, parcel 3, site 13. This Joe keeps track of the sites, and I'm writing my initials and the date.
Entering all of that data into this GPS unit called the Trimble, basically all of that same information, and while she's doing that, it's recording 10 satellites and 31 points of contact.
And now I'm going to mark where I'm at because I have to do a 5-meter radius to see if there's any other artifacts within that 5-meter radius. It'll go in the same bag. So if the only thing I found is this flake, then we'll call this site an isolated find. But if I find other things, then it'll be called a lithic scatter, and we'll have to figure out the size. So I'm going to go do my 5-meter radius now.
I'll do it over here.
So I found what might possibly be another flake, so I'll throw it in the bag. And then Joe will know that it's a 5x5, because we didn't find anything outside that area. And I knew what 5 meters was, because I know my pacing is 16 steps for 10 meters, so I took 8 steps all the way around my site.
At the end of the day, all the artifacts everyone has collected is put in order and taken back to the lab.
Kind of something. This is Oliver's little flake. We bagged them. That's Oliver.
That's Oliver's handwriting. It's impressive.
This is Katie's.
It was 2.
There you go.
How many sites do we have total today, Joe?
13.
When back at the lab, the artifacts are processed in this manner.
So basically what I'm doing here is sorting out all the sites in order that we found them and recorded them. It just makes washing and identifying later easier. So I'll wash each and every artifact in here. And what I'm doing over here is just writing that same information on here so I know which bag had which artifacts. Next I'm going to wash, so I'm going to fill up my little basin here with water. And then just scrubbing the artifacts. So here's site 2. It's pre-wash. And so we can pretty much wash anything and everything but metal and bone. This way we can read the maker's mark a lot easier.
After the artifacts are washed, they are stored on these racks to dry. Joe is going to give an example of what happens to the artifacts when they are ready for the identification process, and give you some examples of what we find.
And here we have a prehistoric artifact. This is found in one of our survey areas. This is a core. A core is where they had a big cobble of chert, such as this, and then they would just work on it, chipping off flakes, and a flake would be something like this. We have a flake scar here, a large flake scar here, smaller ones here, here. They even try to take some off here and here. So they would take the flake like this, and then they'd manufacture it into a tool of some kind, like a projectile point or a scraper or a drill or whatever. So then the way that we identify chert types is we look for the color, the texture, the luster. Chert types tell us areas where they might be trading or getting lithic material from. So then we'll do kind of a macroscopic, which means just looking at it without microscope and seeing kind of a color, texture, similarities here. And then we would identify it under the microscope to look at these fossils a little bit better, get a better idea of what kind of fossils we're dealing with, and just to make sure also that it is an artifact. It's not just a hunk of garbage like this. Look at all these edges here under the microscope to make sure they weren't used or flaked off to be used as a tool, and this is just a hunk of chert. And that is how we identify prehistoric artifacts using the microscope and lithic comparative collection. And here we have probably the base or the bottom of an ironstone dish or plate or something, and it has a maker's mark. And it says iron, or at least end stone china. And then we have a lion and a unicorn with some kind of Latin motto and a crest. So looking through an historic source of maker's marks, we found this one that had everything in it: the ironstone china, the lion, the unicorn, the Latin motto, and the crest. We found out that it's Alfred Macken from England. And then looking at another book, we found it right here: ironstone china, Macken, 1890 plus. This is amber glass, and this has certain dates of manufacture based on whatever chemicals went into the glass making process. Same with aqua glass; it has certain minerals or whatever added to it to give it this color. So this would be a base of a bottle. Here we have the bottom part. It's molded. We can see the seam right here, indicating it was molded in a machine. Two parts of the mold were put together and filled with this glass material. This is a neck or rim of a glass bottle. It was also molded in a very faint line right here. Another thing that we encounter all the time in our surveys are milk glass canning jar lids. So those are different types of glass that we'll encounter. And then there's all sorts of colors. It's kind of a dull amethyst, pinkish purple color. We go through our historic sources and we look for dates of manufacture for the different types of glass it is, and sometimes if they have writing on them, we can identify when that specific thing was made.
After all information is found on each artifact, it is organized in a catalog sheet like this one. In it, individual or groups of artifacts are correlated with specific catalog numbers. This makes interpreting data easier for present and future use.
So this is where we take all our artifacts. Once they're cleaned, identified, and processed, they go in here throughout the duration of the project.
After all artifacts have been researched thoroughly, they are either kept by Ball State or they are sent back to the owner of the land that they were found on. And this is how archaeology is done.
I don't know if I've told you guys this one, but why wouldn't the shrimp share his treasure? Because he's a little shellfish.
What do you call a woman with one leg?
Peg.
Eileen.
No, that's Peg's cousin. A man walked into a bar with a slab of asphalt and says, I'll have a beer and one for the road.